In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Welcome to Journey to Jannah, where timeless wisdom meets the present day. Here we bring you audiobook-style biographies of the greatest minds in Islamic history, scholars, thinkers, and reformers who shaped the course of knowledge, faith, and civilization. From Imam Abu Hanifa to Ibn Sina, from Al-Ghazali to Sayyid Qutb, each story is a journey through trials, triumphs, and unwavering dedication to the pursuit of truth. Sit back, reflect, and let your heart travel through centuries of Islamic heritage. One voice, one story, one lesson at a time. Subscribe now and begin your journey toward knowledge, inspiration, and Jannah, inshallah. Journey to Jannah, where knowledge lives. The dawn of a mind, the life and legacy, Al-Farabi.
The vast skies of Central Asia stretched endlessly, painted in the soft, fading colors of dawn. The wind whispered secrets through the tall grasses, carrying the scent of dry earth and distant mountains. In the year 872 Common Era, in a modest town known as Farab, perched at the crossroads of civilizations, a child was born who would come to change the course of intellectual history. He was named Abu Nasr Muhammad ibn Muhammad, though the world would come to know him simply as Al-Farabi. This was an age of awakening. The great Abbasid Caliphate was flourishing, its capital, Baghdad, a shimmering jewel of knowledge, attracting scholars, poets, and philosophers from every corner of the known world. Here, the wisdom of ancient Greece, Persia, India, and the Arab world mingled, preserved in vast libraries filled with scrolls and manuscripts. Ideas flowed as freely as the Tigris River, weaving together a tapestry of culture and science. Yet amidst this vibrant tapestry, the young Al-Farabi's path would be unlike any other. Not merely a scholar or a student, he was destined to become a philosopher whose insights would bridge worlds, east and west, reason and faith, music and metaphysics. They would call him the second teacher, placing him just after Aristotle, whose works he revered and expanded upon. But before the towering intellect, before the countless manuscripts, before the dialogues that would shape centuries, there was a boy, curious and eager, born into a simple world with a mind destined for greatness.
Childhood in Farab.
The sun had barely risen over the rolling steps when Abu Nasr opened his eyes for the first time. The year was 872 Common Era, and in the quiet town of Farab, nestled on the ancient Silk Road, a child's cry filled a modest home with promise. His father, a scholar of letters and language, and his mother, gentle and wise, welcomed him with prayers and hopes whispered into the morning air. Farab was no grand city like Baghdad or Damascus. It was a place where the sky seemed to stretch forever, where caravans laden with silk and spices passed through like fleeting dreams. Yet this unassuming town was a meeting point of cultures: Persian, Turkic, Arab, and ideas. It was in this melting pot that young Al-Farabi would take his first steps toward greatness. From his earliest days, Abu Nasr was different. While other children chased each other through dusty streets or tended flocks, he sat quietly by the flickering light of oil lamps, captivated by the tales his father read aloud. Stories of ancient kings, wise sages, and the mysteries of the stars. His father's voice, steady and melodic, brought to life the teachings of Aristotle and Plato, whose works had been translated into Arabic and spread throughout the Islamic world. "You have the mind of a seeker," his father would say, watching the boy's eyes sparkle with wonder. "Knowledge is a vast ocean. You must learn to swim its depths." His mother, too, nurtured his growing curiosity, teaching him poetry and music, encouraging the boy to listen not just with his ears, but with his heart. The rhythms of the lute, the cadence of verses, seemed to awaken something deeper inside him, a harmony between logic and beauty, reason and art. At school, Abu Nasr excelled beyond his years. His teachers marveled at how he grasped complex ideas with ease, often asking questions that challenged even the wisest. He devoured texts on mathematics, astronomy, and medicine, always searching for the underlying order that bound the universe together. But it was philosophy that truly captured his soul. The questions he pondered were not simple. What is the nature of existence? What is the soul's purpose? How should society be organized for justice and happiness? These were the mysteries that kept him awake at night, gazing at the stars as if seeking answers from the heavens themselves. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over Farab's narrow alleys, Abu Nasr sat with his father beneath a spreading walnut tree. The air was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine, and the first stars blinked awake in the darkening sky. "Father," the boy asked softly, "how can one know what is truly real? How do we find the truth?" His father smiled, eyes reflecting the starlight. "Truth, my son, is a light that shines in the heart and mind. It is found through study, reflection, and above all, patience. Your journey has only just begun." That night, as sleep finally claimed him, Abu Nasr dreamed of faraway cities, Baghdad's bustling streets, libraries filled with scrolls, scholars debating in candlelit rooms. He dreamed of a world beyond Farab, a world he was destined to explore. And so, the restless flame of knowledge was kindled within a boy from a small town, a flame that would one day blaze a path through the great traditions of philosophy and science, lighting the way for generations to come.
The journey begins.
Winds of destiny stirred as Abu Nasr left the quiet embrace of Farab behind. The dusty roads ahead promised not just distance, but transformation. His heart beat with a mixture of anticipation and reverence. He was no longer just a boy. He was a seeker on a path toward the great centers of learning. In those days, knowledge was scattered across the Islamic world like stars in the night sky, bright, distant, and waiting to be discovered. Farab was a starting point, but Baghdad, the city of peace, was the shining jewel every scholar dreamed of. It was there, amid its bustling streets and towering libraries, that the world's greatest minds gathered to debate, teach, and learn. The journey was long and fraught with challenges. Caravan routes stretched across vast deserts and rugged mountains, and dangers lurked in every shadow. Yet Abu Nasr traveled with determination, accompanied by a trusted companion, an elder scholar who recognized the boy's extraordinary promise and vowed to guide him. As they traversed the lands of Persia and beyond, Abu Nasr's mind absorbed every sight and sound. The diversity of cultures and ideas deepened his understanding of the world. He marveled at the Persian poets, whose verses danced like flames. He studied the intricate geometric patterns of Islamic art, each line a testament to divine order. Everywhere, he found reflections of the harmony he sought. Upon arriving in Baghdad, Abu Nasr was overwhelmed by the city's vibrant energy. The streets buzzed with merchants, scholars, and travelers from every corner of the world. He visited the House of Wisdom, Beit al-Hikmah, a legendary center where Greek manuscripts were translated and preserved alongside Arabic and Persian works. In this sanctuary of knowledge, Abu Nasr devoured texts on logic, metaphysics, astronomy, and medicine. He debated fiercely with fellow students, his sharp mind and respectful demeanor earning admiration. Here, he encountered the works of Aristotle and Plato, not as distant relics, but living ideas to be engaged with, questioned, and expanded. More than books, however, Abu Nasr sought teachers, scholars who could illuminate the mysteries he pondered. He found mentors who introduced him to the subtle art of reasoning and the depths of metaphysical thought. Some nights, by the flicker of oil lamps, he would pore over treatises on the soul, the nature of being, and the principles of governance. But Baghdad was only the first of many stops. His journey took him further, to Aleppo, Damascus, and Cairo, each city a jewel in the crown of Islamic civilization, each offering new lessons and perspectives. Along the way, he encountered poets, musicians, scientists, and mystics, all contributing threads to the rich tapestry he was weaving. Through his travels, Abu Nasr learned that knowledge was not merely the accumulation of facts, but a living, breathing dialogue between cultures, disciplines, and ideas. His vision expanded beyond the narrow confines of any single tradition. He sought a universal wisdom that could unite reason and faith, philosophy and spirituality. Even as a young man, his reputation grew. Letters of recommendation followed him, and scholars invited him to their courts and circles. Yet, despite the praise, Abu Nasr remained humble, always aware that the pursuit of truth was endless, and that each answer revealed deeper questions. One evening in the city of Damascus, Abu Nasr sat beneath a cedar tree, gazing at the stars. The cool breeze whispered ancient secrets. He took out a small notebook and began to write, not just copying what he had learned, but trying to give voice to his own thoughts, ideas that would one day reshape philosophy itself. The journey had only just begun.
The student and the master.
The sprawling city of Baghdad was a labyrinth of knowledge, where narrow alleys opened into vast courts and humble study rooms hid treasures of wisdom. For Abu Nasr, this city was not merely a place. It was a living classroom, a forge where his mind would be tempered and sharpened. Among the many scholars who passed through the House of Wisdom, few left a mark as profound as Al-Farabi's teachers. These masters were the keepers of a vast intellectual heritage. guardians of the ancient Greek texts and pioneers of new knowledge in mathematics, medicine, and theology. They challenged him, inspired him, and above all, taught him how to think. One such master was a quiet, elderly philosopher named Ishaq al-Rahawi, with a beard as white as the desert sand and eyes that seemed to hold the cosmos. Ishaq was a living bridge between the traditions of Aristotle and the rising tide of Islamic philosophy. He taught Abu Nasr not only the letter of the texts, but the spirit behind them, the art of questioning, the patience of reflection. "You must not simply memorize," Ishaq told him one afternoon beneath the shade of a fig tree, "but engage. Philosophy is a dialogue between the mind and the world, between reason and faith. Only through such discourse can wisdom be born." Abu Nasr listened, absorbing every word. He learned to read Aristotle's metaphysics not as a rigid doctrine, but as a series of questions that demanded fresh answers. He grappled with Plato's Republic, imagining the ideal city where justice reigned and souls found harmony. Yet philosophy was only one thread in the rich tapestry of his studies. He delved into logic, mastering the art of syllogism and argumentation. He studied mathematics and astronomy, marveling at the precise movements of the heavens. Medicine, too, fascinated him, the delicate balance of body and soul. But perhaps most striking was his devotion to music. To the outside world, music might have seemed mere entertainment, but to Al-Farabi, it was a science, a reflection of cosmic order and the harmony of the soul. He would spend hours listening to melodies, analyzing rhythms, and contemplating their deeper meanings. His days passed in a blur of study and debate, in the crowded halls of. But Abu Nasr was no mere student. Gradually, his own voice began to emerge. He started to write treatises that blended Greek philosophy with Islamic theology, attempting to reconcile reason and revelation. He argued that true happiness could only be found in the cultivation of virtue and knowledge, a harmony between the individual soul and the greater cosmos. In time, Al-Farabi earned the respect of his teachers and peers alike. His writings circulated quietly at first, then more widely. Invitations to courts and intellectual circles followed, offering him platforms to teach and debate. Yet, amidst the accolades, he remained humble and thoughtful, always aware that wisdom was a journey without end. For every answer he found, a dozen new questions emerged. One day, while walking through a sunlit garden filled with blooming jasmine, Abu Nasr paused to reflect. The garden was a metaphor for the mind, orderly yet wild, beautiful yet mysterious. He realized that his path was not just to learn, but to build, to construct a philosophy that could guide rulers, inspire thinkers, and illuminate the soul. This was the moment the student became the master.
The philosopher's voice.
The halls of learning had shaped Abu Nasr, but it was the world beyond the libraries, the courts of kings, the bustling markets, and the spiritual centers that would demand his greatest contributions. With his growing reputation, Al-Farabi stepped out from the shadow of his teachers and into the bright, sometimes harsh, light of public discourse. His ideas were unlike anything many had heard before. While some clung strictly to traditional interpretations of faith or philosophy, Al-Farabi sought a delicate balance, a bridge where reason and revelation met, where Greek logic danced gracefully with Islamic spirituality. In his early 30s, he began to compose works that would become foundational texts, not only for his contemporaries, but for generations of thinkers to come. Among these was the Virtuous City, a philosophical vision of society where rulers governed with wisdom, justice flourished, and citizens cultivated knowledge and virtue. In this treatise, Al-Farabi painted a vivid picture of an ideal community, inspired by Plato's Republic but deeply infused with Islamic ethics. The ruler was a philosopher king, a guardian of both law and wisdom, ruling not for power, but for the common good. Justice was not mere enforcement, but the harmonious order of souls and society. This vision was radical, yet hopeful, offering a path through the political turbulence of his era. The Islamic world was vast and diverse, filled with competing dynasties and cultural crossroads. Al-Farabi's philosophy proposed that true peace could only come from the alignment of individual virtue with collective harmony. Beyond politics, his writings explored metaphysics and logic. He clarified Aristotle's often complex works, refining ideas about causality, existence, and the nature of the soul. His treatise on logic was revolutionary, laying foundations that would influence scholars across continents. Al-Farabi's fascination with music also found its way into his philosophical vision. He wrote The Principles of Music, where he argued that music mirrored the cosmic order. Vibrations and harmonies in sound reflected the balance and rhythm of the universe itself. For him, music was a science and a spiritual discipline capable of shaping the soul's disposition. These works circulated in manuscript form, copied by hand by scholars eager to absorb his insights. Al-Farabi's influence spread from Baghdad to Cairo, Damascus, and beyond. His teachings reached students, rulers, and mystics alike, each finding something uniquely profound in his words. Yet, with influence came challenges. Some religious scholars questioned his blending of Greek philosophy with Islamic thought. Some rulers feared his ideas might inspire dissent or challenge authority. Al-Farabi navigated these tensions with wisdom and humility, ever mindful that the pursuit of truth required courage and patience. One quiet evening, seated in a courtyard beneath a canopy of stars, Abu Nasr penned a letter to a fellow scholar. The candle flickered as he wrote, "Philosophy is the light that dispels the darkness of ignorance. It is not opposed to faith, but completes it, guiding the soul toward its highest good. Our task is to seek knowledge with sincerity and to share it with kindness, so that wisdom may flourish in all hearts." As the candle burned low, Al-Farabi's thoughts drifted beyond the city walls. He dreamed of a future where knowledge would transcend borders, where reason and faith would walk hand in hand, and where the harmony he sought would echo in the hearts of all mankind.
The legacy begins.
The twilight years of Al-Farabi's life were marked not by quiet retreat, but by the deepening of his influence across the Islamic world. Though the exact date of his passing remains shrouded in the mists of history, what endures is the profound legacy of a mind that dared to unite worlds. As Al-Farabi grew older, his writings multiplied, Scholars from distant cities sought his counsel, eager to learn from the second teacher. His treatises on logic became standard texts in madrasas, guiding students through the labyrinth of Aristotelian thought with clarity and insight. One of his greatest achievements was his synthesis of Greek philosophy and Islamic theology, a fusion that opened new horizons. By arguing that reason and revelation were not enemies but allies, he paved the way for later luminaries like Avicenna and Averroes, who would carry his torch forward. His vision of the virtuous city inspired thinkers beyond philosophy, politicians, theologians, and poets alike. It was a blueprint not only for governance, but for the moral and intellectual flourishing of society. The ideal ruler, Al-Farabi insisted, was a philosopher king whose wisdom transcended personal ambition. Beyond his intellectual contributions, Al-Farabi's passion for music left a lasting imprint. His writings laid the groundwork for the scientific study of music theory in the Islamic world, exploring how sound could influence the soul's harmony. For centuries, musicians and philosophers alike would return to his insights, blending art and science in pursuit of spiritual and emotional balance. Though the years weathered his physical presence, Al-Farabi's ideas thrived, traveling across continents and generations. His commentaries on Aristotle would later be translated into Latin, becoming a bridge to medieval European scholars and influencing the Renaissance. In cities like Baghdad and Cairo, scholars gathered in his name, debating and expanding his work. His blending of cultures and ideas embodied the spirit of the Islamic Golden Age, a period where knowledge knew no boundaries. On a quiet evening, near the end of his life, Al-Farabi reflected on the journey that had carried him from the quiet town of Farab to the centers of learning across the world. Though humble, he knew his mission was fulfilled, not by fame or fortune, but by the spark of wisdom ignited in countless minds. He closed his eyes, envisioning a world where reason and faith walked together, where the pursuit of knowledge was a sacred journey, and where harmony was not just an ideal, but a living reality. The flame of his thought burned bright long after his passing, a beacon for those who seek to understand the mysteries of existence, the nature of the soul, and the principles that bind humanity together.
Master of wisdom.
In the fullness of his years, Al-Farabi stood as a towering figure in the intellectual landscape of his time, a master philosopher whose mind was a forge where ideas from many worlds were melded into new wisdom. By now, he had traveled far from the boy who left Farab, but the quest that began with humble curiosity had blossomed into a lifetime devoted to understanding the very nature of existence. His writings were no longer just explorations. They were carefully constructed systems of thought that sought to answer humanity's greatest questions. One of his most ambitious works, The Enumeration of the Sciences, laid out a grand map of knowledge, dividing the sciences into categories and exploring how they interconnected. For Al-Farabi, knowledge was a vast tree, each branch nourished by roots of logic and reason. He classified mathematics, natural sciences, metaphysics, and ethics with a precision that influenced scholars for centuries. Central to his philosophy was the idea that the soul's ultimate goal was happiness, achievable through intellectual and moral perfection. He saw human beings as part of a cosmic order, where reason was the highest faculty that could align the soul with universal truth. Al-Farabi's metaphysics built on Aristotle, but added a uniquely Islamic perspective. He described the first cause, the ultimate source of all existence, as a transcendent intellect from which all things emanate. The universe was a hierarchy of intellects, each reflecting divine wisdom. His political philosophy, articulated in the Virtuous City, was a living organism where justice was the harmony of parts working toward the common good. The ruler, a philosopher king, governed not by force, but by wisdom and virtue. This ideal contrasted sharply with the often tumultuous politics of his time, but offered a timeless model of leadership. Al-Farabi also wrote extensively on logic, elevating it to a science that underpinned all rational inquiry. His treatises clarified syllogistic reasoning and introduced innovations that would resonate through Islamic and Western philosophy alike. Among his lesser-known, but deeply profound works was his treatise on music. For him, music was not mere entertainment, but a science of harmonies that mirrored the soul's inner order. He believed music could influence emotions, heal the spirit, and elevate the mind toward divine truths. Students flocked to him, eager to learn not just his theories, but his method, a disciplined balance of rigorous reasoning and open-minded inquiry. He was a teacher who encouraged questioning, debate, and the pursuit of wisdom with humility. Though the political landscape remained unstable, with empires rising and falling, Al-Farabi's ideas transcended his era. His synthesis of Greek philosophy and Islamic theology laid the groundwork for the flourishing of philosophy in the centuries to come. As the sun set on his lifetime, Al-Farabi's thoughts turned to posterity. His writings were letters cast into the ocean of time, meant to guide seekers in distant lands and future ages. He knew that true wisdom was a journey without end, a flame passed from mind to mind, illuminating the path for those willing to walk it.
The enduring light.
Long after Al-Farabi's footsteps had faded from the streets of Baghdad and his voice grew silent, his ideas continued to resonate like an echo in the grand halls of knowledge. The philosopher who once wandered from Farab to the great centers of learning had planted seeds that would bloom for centuries. His works traveled beyond the borders of the Islamic world, carried by scholars who saw in his thought a bridge connecting ancient Greek philosophy with the vibrant spirit of Islamic theology, and later inspiring Western scholars during the Renaissance. Latin translations of his treatises on logic and political philosophy introduced Europe to the profound wisdom of the East. In cities like Cairo, Damascus, and Cordoba, scholars gathered to debate and build upon his ideas. His classification of the sciences became a foundation for educational curricula. His vision of the virtuous city influenced political thinkers who dreamt of just governance amidst turbulent times. But it was more than just his ideas that endured. Al-Farabi's approach, the harmony of reason and faith, the pursuit of knowledge with humility and kindness, became a guiding light for generations of thinkers. Philosophers like Avicenna and Averroes, often called the princes of Islamic philosophy, followed in his footsteps, extending his legacy and deepening the dialogue between cultures and faiths. Even the art of music carried his imprint. His treatises on the science of harmony influenced the development of musical theory in the Islamic world and beyond. Musicians and scholars alike revered him as a master who revealed music's power to heal and elevate the soul. Centuries later, as new eras dawned, Al-Farabi's legacy remained a testament to the timeless pursuit of wisdom. His life was a story of curiosity transformed into knowledge, of a humble student who became a master of intellect and spirit. In the quiet moments of reflection, one can imagine Al-Farabi's spirit still wandering the vast library corridors, still seeking, still teaching, and still inspiring those who listen to the call of wisdom, the mind toward divine truths. Students flock to him, eager to learn not just his theories, but his method, a disciplined balance of rigorous reasoning and open-minded inquiry. He was a teacher who encouraged questioning, debate, and the pursuit of wisdom with humility. Though the political landscape remained unstable, with empires rising and falling, Al-Farabi's ideas transcended his era. His synthesis of Greek philosophy and Islamic theology laid the groundwork for the flourishing of philosophy in the centuries to come. As the sun set on his lifetime, Al-Farabi's thoughts turned to posterity. His writings were letters cast into the ocean of time, meant to guide seekers in distant lands and future ages. He knew that true wisdom was a journey without end, a flame passed from mind to mind, illuminating the path for those willing to walk it. As the candle burned low, Al-Farabi's thoughts drifted beyond the city walls. He dreamed of a future where knowledge would transcend borders, where reason and faith would walk hand in hand, and where the harmony he sought would echo in the hearts of all mankind.
The timeless philosopher.
As the pages of history turn, some figures emerge not just as products of their time, but as timeless beacons of thought and inspiration. Al-Farabi is one such figure, a philosopher whose life and legacy transcend centuries, cultures, and disciplines. Born in a small town, yet destined to touch the vast intellectual world, Abu Nasr al-Farabi journeyed far, both physically and intellectually. His was a path marked by relentless curiosity, a devotion to knowledge, and a profound desire to understand the harmony underlying existence. He bridged worlds, Greek and Islamic, reason and faith, philosophy and music. In his hands, the ancient wisdom of Aristotle and Plato was not static relics, but living dialogues with the divine truths of his own tradition. His vision of the virtuous city challenged rulers to lead with justice and wisdom. His metaphysics painted the cosmos as a hierarchy of intellects emanating from the first cause. Al-Farabi's dedication to logic shaped the very way scholars think and argue. His writings on music illuminated the soul's invisible harmonies, and his ethical teachings inspired generations to seek happiness through virtue and knowledge. Yet, beyond his writings and theories, it was his spirit, humble, curious, patient, that endears him to all seekers of truth. He reminds us that wisdom is not an end, but a lifelong journey, one that demands courage to question, openness to learn, and kindness to share. Today, as scholars, philosophers, musicians, and leaders look back on the golden age of Islamic philosophy, Al-Farabi stands as a guiding star. His life is an invitation to explore boldly, to think deeply, and to live in harmony with the eternal quest for understanding. In a world still searching for balance between reason and faith, justice and power, knowledge and humility, the timeless philosopher's voice continues to call. Across the ages, across the minds and hearts willing to listen.
Alhamdulillah for joining us on this journey through the life of one of Islam's great scholars. We hope this story inspired your heart and deepened your connection with the rich legacy of Islamic knowledge. If you found benefit in today's episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Journey to Jannah, your home for Islamic biographies, wisdom, and timeless guidance. New episodes are uploaded regularly, so turn on the notification bell to never miss a moment of insight. May Allah increase us all in beneficial knowledge and guide us on the path of the righteous. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.